Hello. We are back again with another tier list for season 8.5. I was thinking about not doing it for this season, but the meta has shifted substantially enough for me to warn this, and I really did enjoy the patch notes. I'm not enjoying the season that much because it feels like there's so many throwers and people not actually trying. So I haven't really been enjoying ranked. But in spite of that, the meta is one of the healthiest metas the game has seen in a bit. There are certain things that are overtuned, and there are certain things that are undertuned. And hopefully, in the next few patches, we can see the meta shift a little bit. Power creep has been running rampant for a while now, and they finally started nerfing some stuff down. So hopefully, we see that trend going forward. This won't be a long gap. I'm gonna go again through the tier list. To the tiers, and then gonna start ranking everybody. The ranking is going to be tanks in their own category, supports in their own category, DPS in their own category, left strongest, right weakest inside of the category. First tier, meta defining, like last time. These are the characters that are going to be driving your main strongest compositions. If these characters are open and if these characters are playable, you're going to be building your comps around them. Next up, I switched from pick and ban because nobody liked that to oppressive in the meta. These are characters that are on par with the meta defining, but you don't need to build the composition around them. They just make the comp much better, and these are the picks you're going to be usually picking or banning depending on what you are running on your meta defining side of the things. After that, we have strong in the meta, mediocre in the meta, niche in the meta, which means they can be played, but the positions where they can be played are limited. That is overall the issue with the niche characters. Then we have really weak in the meta. Like, these are characters that are basically unplayable, but you can play them. You can find spots for them. They're just like really, really weak. So that's pretty much the setup of the tier list. Starting off with tanks, we're going to start off with tank pool. The reason why is because there's been some misconception of this hero, and that includes my own previous tier list. Tank pool is actually still really, really, really strong. It requires you to be a level of skill that majority of tank players aren't going to have in like majority of the elo. However, if your aim is really, really good, if you're like a hit scan crack player and you pick up the game sense that you require to play tank on this hero, you realize how to take off angles, you really realize how to use your cooldowns, and when to ult and how to ult, you're gonna be just running the lobbies like this character was used to doing it. You're gonna have a little bit less sustain when you use your gun ult, but you can still offset it with your E, with your Deadpool in the area, with your shield, with your mobility, so you're going to be still fine. And the damage, as I said, the damage nerf, it is strong, but it ends up being like one more headshot overall in your like regular amount of damage to kill a squishy if you have upgraded guns, if you're a good hit scan player. So that's not that much, especially with you having your gun all on them, using your swords and stuff like that. This character is still going to be really strong. He's still going to get a value, and he's still going to do really well. Next up, we have Devil Dinosaur. This character has dropped off pretty substantially, I would say. And there are two reasons to it. We're going to see a little bit of a drift in the meta. There's a lot more poke. Poke is all more heavy. And other tanks that can pressure him are still really, really good. So that lowers his value. And obviously the nerfs lowered his, output. He does less damage. That damage that he does converts to less overhealth, so he's squishier, and he has a longer cooldown on his shield. Character is still insanely strong. You can still definitely ban him and play around this character because he is that oppressive. Like, matching Dino is something you might need to do. However, with a Groot and an Emma, you can still fight around it. He does kind of require triple support, but triple support is still, and it will always be until they address Mantis, the strongest team comp in the game. So the character's shift is clear. It is a stark shift. However, it isn't oppressive enough to make it that you can't play the character, right? You can still play him. He's still really strong. He isn't as oppressive as before, I would say. I think he fell off a little bit, but I feel like if some of the hit scan characters that got released and that are in the meta got nerfed even a little bit, I think he's going to be back in the oppressive and maybe even meta defining. You need to match the character again. Especially the more organized play and like really high elo play, I don't think this character is going to be as oppressive as we used to see him. Next up, we're going to see Rogue. Last time, we had Rogue in two separate tiers because she was a completely different character with the team up and without it. I suggested, let's nerf the team up, let's buff her neutral, let's buff her block, and buff the cooldown on her shift. What did they do? They did exactly what I wanted them to do, and this character is absolutely brilliant. The team up again makes her that super strong hero. But even without the team up, the amount of damage you can do with your block shot now is incredibly strong. She's also really super good at surviving, and she's a sort of off tank. She can stand in front line and block because of her block, so she can actually hold space a little bit better. This character is really strong. Like, I love Rogue. I love how skill expressive she is, and I'm glad that she is like oppressive in this meta, especially when Gambit is open. Next up, we have Venom. I mean, same thing. Same thing goes for Venom. Absolutely. This character is, I would say, the second strongest tank in the game, right next to Captain America, who we'll talk about after. But the real thing that makes Venom super strong is the ability to go in and stall and then get out. When there's triple support on the enemy team, you can live in that triple support much longer. Their damage is realistically lower, especially if they don't have the optimal triple support with Luna and Mantis. So you can actually survive much longer in those scenarios as Venom than as Cap. Your ultimate is also strong. You can, but it does require comboing, usually with damage boost. However, Luna's meta, Rocket's meta, Gambit's meta, Mantis's meta. A lot of characters that combo well with him are meta. So you can definitely play around Venom's damage boost and ultimate, right? On top of that, he gets that ultimate really quickly. Like, I was playing a game and I got my ultimate twice in a minute on Venom because I was just going in, poking, going out, going in, poking, going out. You have that 8-second window where you can do your stuff and then reset and then keep doing that every 8 seconds. You're going to get a lot of value on him. And with triple support being meta, you can also brawl in this character really well and just sit in people's face and just continuously build your ult and just like burst the tanks. The character's really good. He's really good at marking off angles. There's a lot of characters that are good at off angles right now. So yeah, obviously Venom's good. Groot. With some stuff being changed up, so Dive is less strong than it was last season. So Groot is going to come back up because Groot really doesn't have the mobility to deal with them. Heavy poke is meta, so that makes Groot's drop a little bit harder. However, triple support is meta, so Groot can sustain that and sustain triple support really well. So yeah, same thing about Groot. Not much changed. He just moved up a little bit because the meta shifted a little bit. Nothing much changed. Emma's buffs were incredible, and I love that she got him, and that makes her strong. She hasn't moved from last patch. She's really the main character that can shut down that Devil Dinosaur. She can shut down Venom if she grabs him. She can shut down Captain America. She pressures Groot really well. She can't even play into tank pull. So like, she's really good into the top tier matchups. So obviously the character is going to be good and valuable. That is not much about Emma. Not much has changed from previous season to this season. She's really good, and she got a great skin, so amazing. Next up, Doctor Strange. I'm going to put him in mediocre. The reason why is Invisible Woman has dropped in favor a little bit over some other heroes that we're going to talk about later, which means she is picked a little bit less often, and when she isn't picked, you really can't run Strange. The character lives and dies in that team up, that extra CC, the extra overshield, the extra sustainability, the damage, everything that shield provides him, that team up provides him. If he doesn't have that, he just cannot be played and ends up just being a TP bot. He is still good. I think you can still play him. He's just overall mediocre in this meta. He just doesn't really suit it well, especially because Invis fell off. If Invis was in that meta-defining state with the other support that I'm going to mention, then you can say Strange could be strong, maybe even oppressive in the right bands. But again, if you look at the heroes that are really good in the tank role, Emma's really good, Venom's really good, Groot's really good. I don't think Strange plays really well into any of those, including Dinosaur. So that's a big also issue with Strange. He needs some stuff to not be picked, and you know, that makes him much weaker. Next up, we have Thor. And I really feel bad putting him this low. I love Thor. I'm a Thor player. I can even put him in really weak in the meta because I feel like this character doesn't just provide anything. They don't give him enough utility or enough damage to be a proper like fat DPS. He just doesn't do anything. He has CC, which is his push, but people got used to playing around it, so that's not going to do much. He is really good on off angles, and he can test off angles. However, if you're going to do that, just pick a DPS who does the job better, and pick a much stronger tank. You have Venom, you have Cap, both heroes who can do that. He can't even pressure them and sustain them as well as he could used to be able to because of their buffs. So yeah, I don't think there's any spot in the meta for Thor. His ultimate is really bad. He's neutral, doesn't have anything, so he needs to play as a main tank, creating space. However, he doesn't have enough distance with his dashes to actually get in and get out safely to create that space. And he doesn't have anything in his kit other than the overshield to hold space, so he can't really play the off-tank role either. So he's not a main tank, he's not an off-tank, he's just sitting there and just being useless. And his ultimate is just weak. His ultimate is terrible. You put a Cloak and Dagger bubble below you, if nobody combos with you with your ultimate, they just die. Any shield blocks it as well, so it's worse than Venom ult. Completely. Like, Venom ult does what Thor ult does, just much better. You combo with your right click, you can one-shot, you anti-heal, you do percentage damage, you also burst tanks, and it goes through shields. There's, like, no reason to pick Thor when Venom is open, right? There's zero reason to pick the character. So, like, Thor is just really weak and just uses the meta. Next up, Peni Parker. A surprise. She is strong. Why is Peni strong? Choke and cheese strats are really strong. Sustain strats are really strong. Stall strats are really strong. If we're running triple support, we don't have that much damage. But we have a lot of sustain. So add more sustain to it. Neutrals that dive even harder. Because double dive is much weaker now. Because Black Cat got taken out back and shot multiple times in the head. So yeah, Peni Parker. The character is incredibly cheesy. There's some like weird like exploit you can do with like putting webs in like a triangle, and you get like infinite range on an invisible trap. Nonsense. The character is just incredibly busted and not fun to play into. You can easily take her out by just going to the nest. However, with the amount of sustain, breaking those stall comps is so frustrating. Like, imagine having Captain America, Peni, and like a Groot in a in a 303 comp, stalling the first point on the Dracula map. That is most insufferable thing you can ever hear. So yeah, Peni is really strong. She's really good into Groot. She's good into Venom. She's good into Cap. She's good into Emma. She's good into Dino. The characters she isn't good into aren't. I mean, she's in the greatest in Groot. Sorry, Groot can break the nest, right? So like, she's not good into tank pull. She is not good into Strange or Thor or Mag. But all those heroes are a little bit weaker. So like, the heroes she is good into are strong, right? And triple support makes her a really good bunker tool. I was going to put Thing really weak, but he's actually niche. If the enemy team is running Hyperdive, you just run Thing and just don't die. He's really good into Rogue, so that's really good position for him. And he can maybe help stall out that Captain America and Venom. However, you would much rather use a pressure comp and like match the dive rather than countering the dive. You never want to counter the dive because the dive is always going to get to you faster that way. So you want to match the dive and get faster to them before or survive it by like triple support sustaining it. So Thingaling does have his little niche, but he isn't a good hero at all because of how heavy the poke meta is. Next up, Angela. Another thing that I love. I said, what do we need to do to Angela? Make her shield better and reduce the cooldown on her shift. What did they do? They made her shield better and reduced the cooldown on her shift. So the character's amazing again. Why? Well, Dinosaur is out of the meta, but like isn't as oppressive as like meta defining as before. She can help and assist the dive. She can play really well with Captain America because he can play the off tank role while your main tank and creating space on her, because he can actually brawl in front of people and then like hug corners and stuff like that. And then you can bait out a cooldown with your 4-second dash and then get it again. And now your dash is better than what it was before. So you just got a better Angela. If they reduce this to 2 seconds, she would be insanely strong. But like, she feels incredibly well. I was talking to HeavenRefining about her. She just feels so much better again. She's back to being an oppressive character. And in my opinion, she's the top 5 tank in the game. Next up, we have Magneto. I would put Magneto in strong. There are spots where Magneto doesn't really work well, especially if the enemy team is running that heavy dive. However, the enemy team is running that heavy poke. You kind of need the Magneto to hold the front line if you can't overdive them, you know? If they're running something like triple support, maybe a Punisher, you kind of need a Magneto into a Punisher. You kind of need a Magneto, you know? So there's spots where Magneto's going to do well. More poke means people are going to be running more sustained poke. So you do want a Magneto in that scenario, you know? His ultimate buff is also really good. I don't think it was necessary. However, you can now kill Luna through her ultimate. Much easier because it does more damage now. It does 350. She'll let the full charge, pop it on the Luna's head, and she's dead. If the overshield is down, of course. So yeah, Magneto's a little bit better than last season because, again, some dive heroes got nerfed, and triple support sustained DPS comps are back up. So Magneto's back up, but he isn't that good. There's other stuff you would rather run than a Magneto in majority of situations. Next up, we have Hulk. He's mediocre. Hulk suffers from the same issues before. The fact that he just doesn't create as much space as other tanks do. There's Captain America, Venom, there's Tankpool, and there's Rogue, and there's Angela. So there's so many heroes that create space in the backline much, much better than something like a Hulk. He has utility, unlike Thor, which is why he's in the mediocre tier. The shield is really good. The XL is really good. He gets his ult really quickly. However, his ultimate in a heavy poke meta, oh, that shit is gone. Especially if the enemy team has a rocket, they rocket him, and you are dead instantaneously. Especially if something like a Venom ults you. Like, you're just forget your HP. And Cyclops, if he ults you, say goodbye to your HP. What he can do is sees a Hulk ulting, he can ult you, and by the time your animation for your ult ends, almost the entirety of your HP bar is over, and they can just burst you quickly right after. So that's an issue with Hulk. And last, but definitely not least, the strongest tank in the game by far, Captain America. It is Captain America. It's been Captain America for a while now. We had Tankpool disrupting that a little bit. We had Dino disrupt that a little bit, but Captain America is still the strongest tank in the game. He provides so much burst damage with his combo now. His TTK on a support is really fast, especially if you see that one clip that Trust Me did from last season where he literally just killed a Punisher in like, I don't know, half a second. I don't know what happened in that clip. I still don't understand that clip. He does so much damage now with a full combo. He is one of the strongest supports, strongest main tanks. He creates so much space in the backline when he dives because he can sustain in that backline really long, and he has 2 cooldowns to get back out because he can take an off angle due to his high mobility in the neutral, due to his high sprint, and now with the high burst, he can actually pressure supports really well. What he also does is, let's say you're running triple support, you have 3 support ultimates where Captain America makes it 4, and on top of making it 4, his ultimate boosts ultimate charge, which means that his ultimate is going to boost other supports' ultimates to come out that much quicker. Character is really good, and as I said earlier, you can also play him as a pseudo off tank. He can hold angles. He has a shield. It is 350, but that shield is enough to help him hold that space. It's not about shielding yourself or your team. Your team can use cover. He can use cover. The shield is there to like stop really heavy frontal damage from killing him, so he can stay in the front line longer. Additionally, his like regular melee is like a really strong part of his kit. He does more damage than Hulk with his regular melee, faster speed because of the animation cancels, not more damage per hit. So he can hold space. And look at the tanks that are really good in the meta. There's only 2 tanks that can stop him from realistically sitting in the front line and doing that are really good, being Emma and the Dinosaur. He can ignore the Rogue once she grabs him and just like dash out of the rest of her CC. Angela can grab him, but again, he can CC immune the grab. He can interrupt it with his slam and stuff like that. And then Dinosaur, who can just grab him, but again, like I said, you're not going to be playing in Dinosaur's space. Most of the time, you're going to be matching Dino, running a Groot, running an Emma, something else to like offset that front line. So yeah, Captain America is the best tank in the game by far. This is how your tank tier list looks right now. There's a couple of tanks that are that fell down in the meta that need buffs and need maybe a rework or like some sort of change, some sort of a buff to get him back into the meta. Something like a Thor. He needs something in his kit. His ultimate needs so many buffs. His ultimate is so terrible. Thingaling just doesn't fit the meta. Like, don't touch Thing. In a really heavy dive meta, he's gonna do his job. In a brawl meta, he's gonna do his job, right? Don't touch Thing. Thing is in a really good spot. Hulk, he just doesn't suit really heavy poke. I wouldn't touch Hulk either. I wouldn't touch Strange. I would maybe buff his either shield, maybe some of his damage a little bit on his primary fire. It is a really long reload, but I think Strange is really good in a good spot. It's just that Invis drops down, and that team up is really required for him. And then everybody else is really fucking strong and should not be fucking buffed at all. Tanks are in the strongest state they have ever been in. Like, look at how many tanks are oppressive or meta defining. You can play every single tank besides like 2 in almost every single situation you want to think in. Maybe 3. Maybe you can't run Hulk every single time, right? But you can run every single other tank in almost every single scenario and be happy with it. So, like, Tanks are in the best state they have ever been in. This is by far a fact. Next up, we're going to move on to supports. And I have to again start with Gambit. They nerfed him. They tickled him. It did fuck all. Again, they're not addressing the biggest issue with his ultimate, which is the jumps, which make everybody so much harder to kill, and the B hops basically on so many characters make it the movement speed make it so like you cannot catch them and you cannot kill them. Like I did make a suggestion. I'm gonna reiterate it, hoping that next season we get this. But my idea for the rework on Gambit was make it so that his ultimate, he can choose how many people he can give his ult to. If he does it to the entire team, it does like 50% value of the buff, or even less, or like 60. If he chooses like 2 people with himself, it gets the 100 value that it gets now. So you keep that aggressive kill through support ultimates ability of Gambit, but you minimize how much survivability and actual suppression gives to an entire team, or you give up that to save your team with an AoE ultimate. Maybe make it so it heals more when it's AoE, but like everything else is reduced, something like that. So there's actual choice when you're ulting, but while maintaining the hero being good. Next up, Adam. Adam is similar to Thing. He's really niche. You pick him when you TP to Soulbound, and that is about it. We did see Virtus Pro come out on Adam as a second healer into Dino, because you can actually get your healing much quicker because you can just shoot the Dino. But Dino falling off keeps the character in niche. I think they need to, like, I don't know, make his reload faster, probably. I don't know, maybe make his healing better, give him some extra passive healing, make him more fit into the main healer role with a unique ultimate, rather than just like clearly being meant for triple support, but then being outshined by something like a Mantis, who is literally Thanos forever. Next up, Rocket. I undervalued Rocket last season. The reason why is I didn't get a chance to talk to people who are really good on Rocket or who really understand the game. I was talking to Coach Coffee. Huge shout out. Definitely subscribe or anything to Coach Coffee. If you watch this video, definitely subscribe to Coach Coffee. That guy's a genius about this game. Everything he says is literal gospel. Coach Coffee was showing me how insanely broken this hero is. His time to kill, his damage, his DPS, especially when he's ult, and if he goes up to somebody's face, is insane. He just burst and one clips insanely HP tanks. Like, he can one clip Groot without his ultimate. Like, that is baffling. That is baffling how strong that is. Res, incredibly strong. Ultimate, really good for combos. We'll talk about the combos with Cyclops, with Phoenix, with Star-Lord, even with Wolverine, with like so many different characters, with Venom, with Groot. You can literally just pop Groot ult, throw a Rocket ult, even if they support ult, you can just kill through. It's that strong. Venom, obviously, kill through anything with that combo. So yeah, Rocket is incredibly strong this season. I undervalued him. His neutral is really good in terms of healing, especially now with the buffs. The only issue with Rocket being this strong, being picked and banned, getting like 60 to 65% win rate in high elo, just means you have a character whose skill ceiling and skill floor are insanely low, being this oppressively strong. That is not healthy for the game. You want characters that have this low of a skill ceiling and this low of a floor to be weak, like Wanda. Because if characters that are this weak, this simple, are this strong, it like devalues skill expression in the game. Why would you pick a character that can show you way more skill expression when a character that can show you way less is going to be so much stronger? That's obviously a thing. I feel like they should revert his buffs to his healing, or change the buff to his ultimate from way back in like season 2. Make it so it doesn't give you overshield. Make it so it's a damage amplifier, and focus on that part. Because what they did was, they had an ultimate which was purely a damage amp, gave it overshield and nerfed the damage amp, and then just gave it back the same damage amp. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, remove the overshield then. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Stop making it a defensive ult. It's an offensive ult, right? So, like, that is going to increase the skill ceiling of the entire team and not make this character just like an insta value for just existing, right? And like maybe do something with his orbs so they're like slower or something, that he needs to like aim them more or something to get more value. Yeah, something needs to happen with the character. Next up, Jeff. Jeff is always going to have a spot when Venom, Tankpool, Cap are good because he can heal through. He's also good in triple because his ultimate can actually get value there. But overall, he isn't as strong as other supports. It's kind of weird. I am putting Jeff in strong, and I'm feeling like, okay, that is relatively low compared to everything else because every single support is super high, as you will see as we go forward, right? So yeah, Jeff, obviously, great into dive, great with dive, great with Venom, great with Cap, great with Tankpool. Those team ups and that stuff works really well for him. And he's really hard to dive. If you run Rocket and Jeff, diving that is basically impossible. Especially a good Jeff that has like a Venom and like Tankpool team up. If Jeff bubbles himself and pops the Tankpool team up, he's not dying. The character's just not gonna die. It's impossible to kill him if you're a dive hero. So yeah, a really good sustain. So like when dive is being run, he's really good with and against. And obviously, his ultimate is only good in triple support, realistically, and as a counter ult, but it's not good overall, right? So like he's a good pick in triple support into dive or against dive or with dive, to like provide that continuous healing. But he is weaker because so many other supports are much stronger. Next up, I'm gonna put Ultron here. I had him in mind in like mediocre, but I was thinking more about it, and I'm like, if Mantis is banned, realistically, you have to run Ultron as your third support. So like, obviously, we're gonna have him relatively strong. He did get substantial nerfs. He's much weaker now than before. He needs to play much less safe, so the drones activate. But I think the character is still what he is, and I do like his state. His skill expression is low. It's mostly just aiming with the beam, and the beam is really forgiving. But I don't know. I like playing him, so he's relatively fun, and he's a good triple support hero. Next up, the queen of triple support herself, another character in meta defining. We're gonna have 4 support characters in meta defining this season. So next up, we have Mantis, the queen of triple support. The damage boost she does is incredible. It single-handedly enables every single triple support comp to be super viable. Why? Well, what is the biggest weakness of triple support? Well, you have 3 supports, healing, realistically, 2 tanks. That means you're gonna get support ults slower. However, Mantis damage boosting your supports and damage boosting everybody and not healing as much still allows her to build her support ult in a relatively timely manner, while the other supports are not suffering as much. So she basically takes away the biggest weakness of triple support and hands it back over to the enemy team. So if you don't match Mantis, you're most likely losing. And as you can see, I'm going to bring up Luna here. This would be your ideal triple support lineup. The Rocket, the Luna, the Mantis, right? This is the strongest backline when Gambit is banned in the game. Luna has a lot of damage. Rocket has a lot of damage. Mantis has a lot of damage. They all can damage boost. So you have actual kill potential, and they all have defensive support ults. So you're not giving one for the other in the case of Jeff, or in the case of Ultron. So, as I said, all 3 of these characters are incredibly oppressive, and they define the meta. Because the main supports you're going to be building your comps around, and building the ultimate combos with, and building strategies with, are going to be these 3. Your Venom is going to have damage boost from the Mantis, the Flake from the Luna if he's diving, or the Luna helping him clapping from an off angle onto the backline. Same goes for Captain America, from any other dive character, anything, realistically. And then Rocket can shoot his heals from literally Narnia. And then he combos really well with everybody. So now I bundled Luna with Mantis here, but as I said, Luna hasn't changed from previous season. Nothing has changed about Luna. She's exactly as strong as she was, but more people have caught on to the fact that she is that fucking strong, and they're picking her more, and she's winning more with them because they're getting better at aiming on Luna. Luna is a more skill-intensive support in something like Susan Storm or Cloak and Dagger, so it takes a little bit of time for supports to like get stronger on those heroes. Same thing with Tankpool. When the nerfs hit him, he stopped being banned, stopped being picked, until the really good tank players picked him up, so he raised back into the meta again. So like I said, this is the strongest support lineup, and you build majority of your comps around this. Some alternation is putting Ultron in there when you want to increase damage, lower heals, so you build up Rocket ult quicker and just play around that ult combo, or you want to have passive healing so you don't have to like micromanage people. Additional options are maybe White Fox. If they're really running heavy dive, you might swap up the Rocket for the White Fox, so your White Fox and Luna can just fight and brawl the backline much easier. Speaking of White Fox, she's really good. I was thinking about putting her in strong, not oppressive. However, if you are running dive, she is best in slot. The only big issue keeping her from being in the meta defining tier is her ultimate. It's really easily counterable. It's super easy to counter it. There's so many characters on this list alone that can counter it. Like, for example, when you're playing Venom, there's almost never a scenario where you don't have your ultimate ready for the White Fox ultimate. And if you combo with anything, she just dies instantly. Groot ult, obviously. Even Angela ult can just like stop her in tracks. There's so many options for DPS as well to just burst this ultimate really quickly. So yeah, White Fox, she would be in meta defining. The neutral healing isn't as necessitated right now because triple support is back into the meta, and Luna has a lot of burst healing, who White Fox obviously works perfectly with. So like I said, into dive, probably best in slot. She is super viable to be banned because if you're running heavy dive, it's so hard to run dive into Luna and White Fox. They just kill you. So you can ban either of those two. You can ban Luna or you can ban White Fox. White Fox is much easier to defend and peel the dive from, so it's much easier to ban her. Next up, heal pool. I am dying on this hill. This character is insanely strong, and if your Mantis is banned, and you run heal pull with this backline, how the fuck are you killing anything? Heal pull has so much utility. He has a damage boost. He has continuous healing. His healing output is really good. The jackpot is the longest support ultimate in the game because he gets the or like his sword ultimate. He gets the initial like 7 seconds of his ultimate, and then he can delay the jackpot, get the huge overshield, and extend that for another 6 seconds. Or more. I'm not sure exactly how long it is. So he has an insanely long support ultimate. The jackpot is really good because if somebody doesn't have a heal pull ult on him, they can jump into the circle and get it back. The only reason why this character isn't picked nonstop or banned nonstop is because players haven't learned how to play with him and haven't learned how to play him. He requires your team to play with him, play around his E because it's a damage boost and a heal and does so much value for your team and heals, right? His ultimate requires the team to move as a unit and go back as a unit. You're not playing in the same ult cycle as the enemy team. He outright breaks it. He's on a cooldown and not on an ult charge meter. So on attack, this character is incredibly oppressive. Additionally, let's say you get into overtime scenarios and you have a fully upgraded heal pool and the enemy team has 1 minute, you are 100% being the first person to build the support ult. So you're just going to run and win the first team fight every single time. That is another reason why DPS pool is the strongest overtime hero in the game, but we'll get to him later, but he's niche. So like I said, heal pull, insanely underrated. He does a lot of damage. He does a lot of healing. He has a lot of utility, and his ultimate is really good, especially in triple support. Like I said, if Mantis isn't open, or even if she is, and you can match him with him, match her with him, you run like Luna's ban, Rocket's ban, heal pull jumps up into that meta-defining triple support lineup. He is that strong and that oppressive. We just need to see people pick him up more, learn him more, and play him more. That's going to make him really good. Next up, Loki. Loki is strong. However, the issue with Loki is he hasn't really found his footing in this meta. It's really hyper-mobile. He can't really just set up and shoot. And then a lot of supports just outvalue him, right? I would rather want a Luna, a Rocket, because of the faster ult charge, more utility with a res. Him ulting is a little bit clunky. The lamps are still good. Obviously, he's still a strong hero, and his neutral healing is actually really good. However, his damage with the nerfs is much weaker, so he doesn't output the same amount of pressure as Mantis, Luna, Fox, even, you know. So like that's where Loki falters right now. Before, he was you would see Sci-Fi getting like the highest damage even in the lobby with Loki, or like, you know, getting really close to it. Now it's much lower, so you would just much rather get other supports to get that value out of it. Next up, we got Invisible Woman. Again, she did drop off a little bit, right? But mostly because Luna power crept her. Luna got buffed so much that she made Invis basically unnecessary, and Rocket got so much that they made Invis unnecessary. The Cage ult is still really good. The neutral CC is still really good. However, if you're running a really heavy dive on her, she's just gonna die. She can't sustain a Venom. She can't survive a Venom. She needs heavy pocket to survive a Venom. Captain America, same thing. He 1v1s her. He can follow her with the E. So the main tanks that are being run are dive tanks, and she just cannot sustain that on her own. And she doesn't really have as much damage to fight back. Right? White Fox is going to fight back much better and actually win some 1v1s and actually out pressure. Luna can just really output a lot of damage. Mantis, same thing. Rocket, same thing, right? So, like, this is kind of the usual scenario right now with supports. Like, as you can see, the pattern. It's the amount of damage they do is going to push them up compared to other heroes, right? Speaking of that, we have Cloak and Dagger. She's mediocre. Why? Well, her damage is not good, right? The whale is really nice. The ultimate is strong to counter some certain things. So is the fade. However, unless you're playing around that bubble, which is a really strong ability, the character is useless, right? You can sustain, you can live, but you can't out pressure. So let's say I'm playing Venom into Invisible Woman and Cloak, and they're not getting anybody else to mark me. I can just sit there and just outweigh the cooldown and build my ult, right? And then leave later, right? It basically just extends the dive window that I have to like invest, but I'm just not going to feel pressured and need to leave unless there's 3 people looking at me. If there's a Luna invis, Luna can just DPS me and I need to leave much quicker. Same goes for Rocket. But if it's a Cloak and Dagger, I can just keep punching them in the face and they're not going to do much, right? The damage is just tickling. So you're going to get one dive tank is going to get attention of 3 people being both supports and another DPS to pressure me off, or a tank, which means I'm already taking space, I'm taking valuable resources, I'm like resetting easily and getting so much more ult charge, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, this would be the tier list for supports, and like I said, you have the triple support lineup in the top that is genuinely going to be broken. You can substitute things with the characters in the oppressive tier, or maybe something in the strong tier, right? Then you have the mediocre tier, or the strong tier, where you have Loki and Cloak, who can be played, but again, are like not ideal. You don't want them. There's so many other supports that are much stronger. You have Adam, who's used for TP plays to use the res or use the shift, right? So that's the support lineup. Next up, we're going to go over to DPS. And let's start off with one of the strongest nerf scenarios ever seen in gaming, which is Black Cat. She received like 15 nerfs in one patch. Yeah, they made this character from like the strongest DPS release ever to one of the weakest DPS in the game. She is still strong, by the way. She's still good. However, she's niche. People are not playing her because she got nerfed heavily. Her invisibility is still incredibly strong. Her ultimate didn't get changed. It's still really strong. I think the range did get changed, but like the damage, her burst is still there, right? And like I said, I think the character is still strong. However, you will see the pattern here in the niche tier. There's going to be multiple dive heroes. And what that means is it requires you to not pick the much stronger off DPS that are above them to make these characters work, and need to be really exceptionally good with them, which is what makes them niche in the meta, right? So this is the case with Black Cat. She is strong in the right hands, and you need to play her really well, but overall she's going to be niche for majority of the player base. Same thing goes for another Black Cat being BP. BP is, again, a character that can get a value onto supports, not into triple support, not into certain comps, right? But if you're a really, really good player, you can get value out of the character. They're niche, right? So as I was talking about Black Cat, we know everything about BP, right? But as I was talking about Black Cat, this is the strongest nerf we have ever received in the game. The character literally got completely gutted compared to her previous state. And I think the game is healthier for it. I don't think Black Cat was a healthy design by any stretch of the imagination. I wanted different changes, but they gutted her, and I'm kind of happy she's out of the meta and out of the ban phase. But I do feel like she might get a micro buff or something like that in Season 9. And then people are going to pick her up again. And then she's going to get stronger again because more people are going to learn her. And then it's going to trickle down from high elo to low elo. And we're going to see more of this character. That's what I feel like. Next up, I want to talk about Spider-Man. He's similar to BP in the case that there's so many other off DPS you want to pick over him that are going to get more value. The biggest value of Spider-Man is if you can do those incredibly strong combos and burst supports before you see them, but that's really hard in triple support. And the pulls off the map. So, like I said, similar to the previously stated DPS, he is niche because the amount of people who can pull off those things is limited, right? Especially in lower elo. In high elo, we're going to see a lot more Spider-Mans be able to do that stuff, but again, we're going to see a lot more supports able to counter. So, like I said, Spider-Man, Black Cat, BP, all of them require an incredibly skilled player to make them work. And now I'm gonna put in DPS Deadpool. The reason why he is in the same tier, which is a niche, is because this character is insanely oppressive with full upgrades. He can wipe your backline, and there's almost nothing you can do about it. However, the pool of players who can do that is so insanely small, you're never going to see this hero pop off as well, right? There's a certain amount of people who pick this hero, get upgrades quickly, wipe your backline, and there's literally nothing you can do because of how strong he actually is. But the amount of people running him correctly is abysmally low. So that kind of offsets the hero. Like, you can't put him in the meta because nobody plays him. You're not going to play around him. You're not going to ban for him. However, the people who are really good on him are going to get so much value. And like I said, if you have a DPS Deadpool in overtime with full upgrades, your entire backline is absolutely wiped and you do not get a chance to build support ults to fight for the first point. It is that strong. It is the strongest thing in overtime you can have. Especially if you have like an Adam Soulbound or anything to pocket him, you're just going to win the fight for free. That is how impressive this hero is. And this is the tier of the dive niche heroes because they're all fit in the category of off DPS that require a lot of skill and investment from the player to make them work. That is the main reason they're bundled up like this. Next up, Widow. I heard that somebody said this character is getting a rework. If that is true, I am hopeful. She needs it. That is all I'm going to talk about Widow. She needs a rework. Please give it to her. And let's get to one of the hottest takes of my tier list. Blade. I am saying that this character is strong. I have seen some really good Blade players do a lot of stuff on this hero. His ultimate with the dash combo, with combos from other ultimates, is actually really strong. His neutral sustain and pressure on tanks is incredible. And he can actually provide the consistent anti-heal to counteract the triple support. I've also heard that Fox, a coach for Swamp Gaming, thinks highly of the hero. And that couples with everything I've seen in ranked and from streamers and from gameplay and from high-level games, that I think this hero is going to be a slept-on pick, but I feel like he is going to be getting much stronger. I feel like the last buff, the last millionth micro buff, might have actually pushed him over the edge, which is really nice. Cyclops, the best DPS in the game. It's really funny how every season, upon every season, we see the exact same thing happening, right? A new DPS gets released, and they're immediately meta-defining. They're immediately the strongest hero in the game, besides Blade, right? And we need to build comps around him. His poke is insane. You're going to see this hero topping the damage hordes every single time because his hits can, like Phoenix, does about the same damage, but his damage also is continuous, and he gets the free poke and the ricochets, right? His ultimate is also insanely strong. You can usually kite corners and hide from it, but you can't anymore shield it. So like before the shield buff, before a random emergency patch or like fix or whatever, you were able to shield the second part of his ultimate and not take the percentage damage, right? So you could raise your cap shield, mag bubble, whatever. So in that scenario, I would have put a different hero as the strongest. However, they've reverted that. So like there's no counterplay to it other than just walking away from it or kiting the corner or then fucking up the ultimate. So that's something I don't like, or like overhealing it potentially. So yeah, that is something I don't like. I hope they change that back and just like actually nerf him in that specific way. That would be great. But yeah, we will see what happens with Cyclops. He's really good, really strong. His ultimate is good. His poke's good. He has a lot of ricochet damage, so staying close is not great. And yeah, he builds up really, really quickly. DareDevil. Well, let's talk about every single LARPer who said this character is dead because they nerfed his dash damage, like dash range or whatever the fuck, right? Like Slushy, who keeps bitching about it every single time he plays. Well, he's obviously wrong. This character is still insanely strong. He's still permaban. He's still winning every game that he plays in, or like majority of them, obviously, right? So like, there's like the strongest two tanks in the game are dive tanks. Pair them with the strongest dive hero, and you're still gonna get value. His ultimate is still insanely strong. His time to kill didn't change. His DPS didn't change. The only thing that changed is he has to play more like a regular tank, like a regular DPS than like before, right? Like every single other dive DPS needs to get into position and then dive. This character didn't need to because he could literally mark everybody on the map freely. Now he can't do that as easily and he gets to position differently. But everything else is exactly the same. I talked to Koga, who's one of the best DD players, and he says, character's still fucking busted. He's still really strong. Nothing changed about him. And if you look at every high elo game where DD is banned or ran, he's still running the lobbies and he's still really strong. There's nothing that changed about the hero. I do want to mention as well, another thing, the change I asked for DareDevil was to reduce the range of the vision of his passive. They did that. I am happy. Another time when I was right about the changes. So yeah, like I said, DareDevil, still the strongest dive here in the game. If you're running a dive comp, you're running DareDevil. He's the strongest, one of the strongest off tanks in the game, off DPS in the game. It's that simple. Run DareDevil. Next up, Elsa, who received one of the most random ass buffs ever. Like, they just randomly gave one of the strongest DPS above. Whatever. Her ultimate is still strong and bullshit. She still has really good poke. However, there's 3 main DPS that usually do her job better than her, which is why she isn't in the top tier, right? There's 2 more DPS that are gonna do her job, which is the main DPS job, better than her. They have more poke down main, and they can do more damage. One of those being Cyclops, obviously. Next up, Hawkeye. Do not pick this hero. He does nothing. Does nothing. Look at the strongest 2 tanks. Look at his positioning. That's it. Not gonna talk more about it. Hela, right next to Thor. Those Guardians are not feeling well. They didn't compensate for those nerfs that they gave her. Her damage is way too low. They have Cyclops now, who does her job better. They already had Phoenix, who did her job better. So what's the point of picking Hela? Right? Like, what is the point of picking Hela? Just pick the better heroes that already exist that do her job better. Her ultimate is one of the weaker main DPS ultimates. Like, if you look at Elsa, stronger ultimate. If you look at Cyclops, stronger ultimate. Phoenix, stronger ultimate. Hell, even Psylocke, arguably stronger ultimate. Punisher, stronger ultimate. You know, like every main DPS basically has a stronger ultimate in her. So you don't really want to run her. There's like no reason to. And funnily enough, Torch. I think he is mediocre. However, there's a little bit of a caveat. He is in the same tier with the niche heroes. You kind of need to really know how to play this hero to do it. However, back in Season 2, almost every good DPS player learned him because this hero was really oppressive, right? And with Ultron being better now than then, there is potential for this character to actually do his job. The buffs they gave him, which I also asked for, was a reduced cooldown on the slam, which is really, really good. So the character feels much more fluid to play now. His primary fire is still one of the worst primary fires in the game, right there with Blade. So, like, imagine if those heroes had better primary fires, like Hitscan, which is what they would have if they got released now. They're gonna do so much. They would be doing so much better now with this meta. So, like, both of those characters are really, really strong. Next up, Iron Fist. I feel like for ranked play and like high level ranked play, I think Iron Fist can still do his job as well as before, but maybe a little bit less, right? He's a tank buster. However, another tank buster, we'll talk about him, got a significant buff in the team up that makes him really strong with the strongest main DPS, which does knock Iron Fist maybe lower. I could maybe put him mediocre, or I feel like he is strong enough. I feel like the percentage damage and the bullying of tanks is really good. I think if Wolverine is banned, which we are seeing more, you're going to see more Iron Fist. I think Iron Fist has a place in the meta where he can mark the dive tanks, like the main tanks, really well. And with that, he can achieve a lot more value through that. Iron Man, he's really weak. There's no real reason to pick him. His damage is not the greatest. Like the Cyclops right click beam does about the same as Iron Man's unbuffed beam, which is sad. His mobility is low. His ultimate is bad. But there's moments where you can actually have like heavy rain down poke, but they don't have anything to get to you quickly, or they don't have that hard poke. In a brawl comp, he's gonna do well, right? Magik. I'm gonna keep her in the mediocre in the meta tier, right? I didn't really get to talk to Swords and ODST from last tier list, but I believe that nothing changed about Magik. I'm seeing both of these players play her and hit Eternity and do really well there. So I feel like nothing changed about my opinion about Magik. You just need to be a really, really strong player to pull her off. Black Cat moving out of the meta, and her wall hacks moving out of the meta a little bit, and Daredevil's wall hacks getting nerfed, and him being the main dive DPS also being nerfed, right? So the off DPS role is shrinking, which means Magik has more options to do her job. However, in triple support, she's also really easily marked, which is the biggest weakness of Magik. If she gets marked, she has to kind of reset. She can't re-engage in that fight like Daredevil, and he can't easily be she can't easily avoid getting marked like Daredevil can. Mr. Fantastic, I think he's niche. I've seen enough Quackly gameplay to think this character actually has a little bit of viability somehow, right? I have no fucking clue how. Brawl is a meta, poke is meta, overwhelming poke as well. I think the character gets shut down easily, but I'm just seeing so many people get actual success in top 500 in Eternity and like really strong elo. So like, I don't know. I feel like Mr. Fantastic is kind of in that BP tier. He can do his job and create value if you're a really good player on him. But yeah, I feel like, again, his ultimate needs to get changed, and I would rework him into a proper tank. But hey, if this is what we're getting, this is what we're going to get with him. Moon Knight. Moon Knight got taken out back and shot. Same thing with Black Cat. Like, he was really good into this, like, stacked brawl, super tank heavy frontline, eating damage comps. But then they nerfed the ricochet. They nerfed the main point of the character. So the character just like drops down to feeling really weak. Like there's no point to pick Moon Knight when Cyclops is open, when Phoenix is open, when Elsa is open. Like, why the fuck would you pick Moon Knight when there's so many other characters? Only option is you're running into like a Penny Dino and you just want to break a chunk they're holding, right? Similar thing goes for like Squirrel Girl, right? Next up we have Namor. I think he's strong. I think his primary fire is really good. Does a lot of damage. I think his ultimate combo with Groot is also really strong, or Venom, right? And obviously, the team up is not the reason you're picking him. You're picking him because of the squids and the continuous damage, and his projectile being one of the strongest projectiles in the game. He can two-shot 275 across the map. It is a long, travel time, but he does have really, really high burst, and he can continuously output damage. So yeah, he's a really decent at like mark the dive type of a DPS, right? If they have like a singular dive, like Captain America, like just Captain America, or just Daredevil, or maybe those two maybe together, she can easily mark them on an off angle and continuously keep fighting, building up his ult charge. And when he's pressuring tanks, pressuring the supports, he's gonna do a lot of damage. Next up, Phoenix. Nothing changed about this hero. They nerfed her in a way that didn't really affect her place in the meta. The nerf just like made it so you play her the way you were playing her already, pretty much. They need to go much harder on it, force her more into playstyle where she's playing closer. But yeah, Phoenix is still really strong. Probably a top 3 DPS in the game. Her combo ultimates is really good with everybody, with Venom, with Groot, with Rocket now, with Luna, who's really strong, with Gambit. But like people are actually getting on to shooting her. That is also supplemented by the fact that like Cyclops, Star-Lord, Elsa, and another Phoenix are also really good at shooting it down. So that makes her ultimate less value. You're seeing a lot of in Ignite, you're seeing a lot of Phoenix ults get hard shut down recently, and the character being picked up less. But in rank, that isn't as often. I feel like the skill level of the player base needs to catch on to that counterplay to Phoenix's ultimate and shoot it more. And then we're going to see her maybe drop off a little bit because she is being power crept by Cyclops and Star-Lord. Psylocke. She isn't oppressive, but she is the strongest of the strong tier. She's still really, really good, but she's a little bit power crept by Star-Lord's ability to off-angle. And the fact that triple support, she's basically not playable in triple support. It's really, really hard to play Psylocke in triple support. I talked to Otis about this, and he absolutely whenever he sees triple support and a Psylocke be picked, he just pops off. However, this character has a really high skill potential and the ability to create consistent pressure. And if you're good at hitting her shots, you can burst somebody really easily. And you can actually contest the Luna and burst her quickly if she misses the freeze. And the fact you have 2 dashes and an invis can actually help you with that. Next up, Wanda. She's really weak, but I can see some scenarios where you can pick her, right? In mid to low elo, even maybe in high elo, the team up with the Strange, and maybe some ults when you can counter Luna ult relatively easily with her, right? So there's potential for Wanda, but she obviously needs some sort of rework. The character is not good. I don't think you shouldn't pick her ever, right? It's not a throw pick like stuff in bottom tier, but I don't think she's really good. Squirrel Girl, she's a throw pick. There's a couple of maps where Shenix is gonna shoot down and kill everybody somehow, and Treat Up Menace is gonna do the same thing, but this character is not good. Don't pick Squirrel Girl, especially in high elo. She's so easily diveable and pressured, and her damage is just nowhere near as good as something like a Cyclops, like a Phoenix, like an Elsa, like a Star-Lord, like a Punisher. There's no reason to pick the hero. Star-Lord. He's meta-defining in my opinion. I'm seeing so many more bans. He works wonderfully into triple support. His neutral damage is so good with the 50 clip. He can pressure tanks really well. The change that they did to his range, the nerf that he got, right, made it so that when he is up close, he does the same damage, but from further away, he does less damage. So this only punishes bad Star-Lords and awards good Star-Lords, right? So you can easily see and feel a Star-Lord diff, right? His damage is still crazy. His clip can one-clip some of the tanks, I think. He can definitely one-clip tank pull. I think he's close to Thor. He can one-clip Angela as well, right? With headshots. So yeah, the character is really strong. His ultimate's really good, and he works incredibly well into triple support and really well into all 4 of these triple support. He loves a damage boost. He loves a flake. The res is also good. The team up is also good. The damage boost is also good. And obviously, Gambit Startled is the strongest team combo in the game. Storm. There's no reason to pick this character. She doesn't have enough self damage to pressure enough to be a worthwhile character to pick. There's no reason to pick Storm in this meta. I feel like she needs another rework. She's way too slow for a flyer, and her utility is not good enough anymore. It got heavily nerfed, and her damage is just her self damage is just not strong enough with those projectiles that she has to sustain her in this meta. Punisher. I think this character is really strong. I think Punisher is really, really strong. I think the amount of damage this character can output is really good. And with Magneto being a little bit weaker due to the tank lineups, the shotgun being really strong as a dive deterrent and as a good marking tool, I think the character is really, really strong. I think he's in the best spot he's ever been in the meta. And I feel like with certain nerfs to certain characters, he might raise up to being like a proper meta pick. Next up, Bucky. He's mediocre. Like, removing his ability to anti-dive and increasing his damage didn't actually put him in line with hitscan. He still cannot contest hitscan. He can't contest Star-Lord. He's going to get clipped much quicker. He can't contest, obviously, Cyclops. He doesn't have enough mobility to match these characters, because if we look at the meta characters, right, this guy has a lot of mobility. This guy has a lot of mobilities. This girl has a lot of mobility. This guy has a lot of mobility. This character has a lot of mobility. This character has a lot of mobility. He only has 1 dash. He can't get into high ground. He can't contest off angles. He literally has to shoot down main, which makes it much harder for this character to be justifiably picked. That's the issue with Bucky, and his ultimate is also easily ignored. Even though they buffed it, but it doesn't feel as strong as before. And Wolverine. This is your strongest off DPS. If Star-Lord is banned, which is the case, and Cyclops is open, this is your DPS duo. You run Cyclops, you run Wolverine. The team up makes it so he gets his ultimate quicker and has so much more mobility. The key of this game is mobility, and we can go through these characters and show you how the key is mobility. This guy has a consistent movement speed boost, a slam, long range, and a dash. This character has 2 double dashes. This character has a consistent movement speed ability. This character movement speed boosts everybody. This character has 2 dashes and a wall climb and an enhanced dash on the walls. This character has a push, which is long distance, slows, and knocks down flyers, right? Incredibly strong push. This character has a lot of mobility, 2 flips and a flight, and he can, move B-hop off of that flight. Venom has the wall climb, the slam, and the shift. Groot is an exception to that rule. Thankful, a lot of mobility. Angela, obviously the queen of mobility. Rogue, a lot of mobility. Emma, again, not a lot of mobility, but she can anchor really well. Heal pool, mobility, a little bit of mobility, mobility, right? So getting more mobility to characters is going to make them better. As you can see, the tanks that aren't as good, Magneto, Strange, Thing, Thor, Hulk, have less mobility than these characters in the neutral fight, right? Hulk needs to double jump twice to get to the backline and jump twice to get out of the backline. Meanwhile, Venom can just wall climb, slam, dash out, right? So you can see the difference between these characters and why they're weaker, right? When somebody's being dove, Magneto cannot really help you. He can't get there in time, right? While other heroes can. So with this in mind, Wolverine's extra mobility, extra damage, which gives him quicker ult charge, and that damage being really good onto the support, so you can actually pressure squishies as well as tanks, makes him really, really oppressive. He's been strong, but this team up, especially the fact that the team up is with the strongest DPS in the game, makes him just one of the strongest heroes himself. If this character didn't have as many buffs with his shift, the grab, and his ultimate, he would definitely be meta defining right there with the other two. But he is so buggy that literally has to squish him down lower. So that would be the tier list for season 8.5. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and goodbye.